Hi everyone, it's been a minute since I've been in touch with you. In fact, it has been 3 years since the last video. And I've got some good news. I have decided to relaunch this YouTube channel, Business Indaba. Now, before I get to you and tell you about what's ahead, I have to tell you what is behind me. You see, I started this channel 10 years ago. That is in 2016. And I started it with 2 friends. And the aim was to talk about news, African news specifically, because we felt it hadn't been discussed about or it wasn't out in the open as much as it should be. So we would focus in one video on something positive, something negative, something controversial, and a must-watch. And it was interesting to start with. There were quite some complications that we came across, not just because of the equipment that we were using, which was very basic, but also because of the squabbles that happened in the background between the 3 of us. And of course, I ended up having a break, which happened until I moved to Ireland. That was when I was working for IBM, and I was bored with my free time because I didn't want to drink all day like some other people would. And I decided to revive my channel then, and it went quite well. I had to learn how to use the equipment that I bought. I started with my GH4 camera, which I still use till this day. What I'm using right now is my camera, by the way, for my phone, which is something I'm doing out of necessity. Living in Zambia, things come with obstacles. So basically my laptop crashed over the weekend, and thus I am unable to connect to my professional gear. But as Kees Kibinda says, you have to use what you have in your hands to make videos. So that's a small segue as to why I'm using the Pixel. But yeah, so I was in Ireland and I had to use my free time, or I wanted to use my free time to make videos in the same trend as I was trying to do with my friends all the way back then. So what I decided to do was to focus on videos with topics in just one video at a go. So instead of making one video with 4 different topics, I made one video per topic. Things really got better when I started focusing on topics such as Yahya Jammeh's ousting for the Gambia. And suddenly I had a spike in views. It went from, on average 100 views to suddenly having over 6,000 views. And I realized, okay, I'm onto something. People are actually interested in what I'm talking about. And thus I realized maybe the political business sphere is what I need to focus on, which is what I did. I spoke about great topics and projects such as the Great Green Wall of Africa. I spoke about certain railways that were being built, and of course there's also the REPI project out in Ethiopia. All these projects were something that were generating a lot of views, but the downside was that when I finally started getting monetized, what happened? YouTube changed the rules. So in my first month of finally being monetized and making money, I made my first whole euro, YouTube changed the rules. And I was disheartened, disillusioned, and decided to quit. Fast forward to a few years later, I realized, okay, I'm now living in Zambia and I'm still facing the same issues. People are not talking enough about things that are happening on this continent, business-wise. So I interviewed some people, I started uploading these videos, and I stopped. Tried again. I realized I'm not good in editing, so I got a friend that would edit for me. Of course, he did it pro bono, and as a result, he became unreliable, and I quit again. So, why am I starting again? I'm realizing that YouTube is something that is growing in Zambia. People are no longer just focusing on Facebook, they're actually trying to see what else is out there, using other apps that they can watch things on their phone. And YouTube is growing in that space. It's competing with TikTok, of course, but YouTube is something that is being watched. And as a veteran who is now hardened and seasoned and has learned quite a few things, not just in the media space by being on YouTube, but also having worked on channels such as Millennium TV, being on radio such as 99.7 Capital FM. I now know what I want to focus on. Once more, it's going to be on business. Of course, I've digressed here and there where I started talking and focusing on sports, African sports, with a couple of friends of mine, and even covering something like a cousin's wedding. All that is out of the window. I'm focusing back on my core. It's back on business. But for the next coming weeks, it will be business, but in the sense on the upcoming elections right here in Zambia, where Hakainde Hichilema is going to run for a second term. What I'm going to talk to you about of the next 38 episodes is tell you what the UPND government has done over the past 5 years. Now, my target audience are people that are undecided or have no clue what has been going on, or even the diaspora that wants to have a know of what actually has been happening on the ground. Come in, listen to me, I'm going to tell you about it. Of course, I am a bit biased. I did vote for this government. I'll disclose that to you right away, but I'm not a praise singer. For you to really find out what I'm talking about, stay tuned. I'm going to be airing a new episode every Tuesday and every Thursday right up until the elections. Join me on this journey. As a segue, I love segues. I'm also going to be running you through, hopefully, the growth that this channel is going to experience. I do have more than 1,000 subscribers, but I do not have a threshold of the 4,000 hours to monetize myself. So my goal is to both monetize myself, grow my audience, and also hopefully teach you one or two things about what has been going on over the past 5 years. Now, who am I as a person to talk about this? Am I a financial analyst or an economist? No, I'm not. I moved back to Zambia in 2020 at the height of COVID to start my business. And I can tell you that I've been hardened by the fire that has been running through me, or that has been directed at me whilst I've been here. I've been running some businesses. I still run businesses. I deal with a lot of things on a day-to-day basis that every other Zambian faces. And maybe if you want to move to Zambia, it will be good to watch. After the 38 episodes are done, I will focus on more interesting things that are happening in the business sphere. But I'll tell you more about that later. For now, follow me, subscribe, share my videos, and stay tuned. Take care.